and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the CSL. My name is Joe Lagritas. I'm joined here today by Fear Dragon, and we are getting ready to jump into our very first round of 8 match. How are you feeling about this, buddy?
Oh, it's going to be a really fun one, Joe, because we got University of Washington facing off versus University of Waterloo. And we already have their lineups submitted. We have a TVT for our first game of the day. And just a little bit of history kind of about these players or these teams and how they did. They both did really well during the group stages. Waterloo sitting 10-3, whereas University of Washington sitting 9-3. So they both did exceptionally well and are definitely two of the pretty big powerhouse teams, I would say. Or at least some of the stronger teams that made to the playoffs, which of course goes to show you they made it to the round of 8.
Yeah, I mean, the round of 8, this is the last online round of the CSL here. This is the last online round of the CSL here, and it does appear, or not just appear, but one of these two teams is going to be going onwards to the offline finals in Toronto, and I'm sure both of these teams are kind of chomping at the bit to do that. I mean, we've got $8,000 up for grabs here, Fear Dragon, and I gotta say, man, these guys want that money.
And I think even more than sometimes just the money is just the whole part about if you make it to the semifinals, you get to fly out and participate at the offline finals. That is just a really fun experience. And I know that actually really brings back a lot of memories for me and my team back in the days when I was in the CSL for Purdue. We used to just have so much fun spending time traveling to like different or like an event or two or like LAN events together as a team, kind of strategizing as a team. There's a huge bonding and kind of fun experience that's involved with that. So I'm sure that the players are going to really be enjoying that and really shooting to try and make it to that offline finals event.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, even if you don't feel that you have what it takes to beat whatever other teams are in your bracket, you still get the chance to travel the world. You know, most of these teams, or at least one of these teams rather that we have here is an American team, so the chance to get to go to Canada, go to a different country and see that city, it's definitely going to put the pressure on, and we're going to have to see which of these two teams can step up. Now that we're in the round of 8, we're dealing with teams that have a lot of kind of high-level players. I know that AIVNA, one of their players actually made a pretty deep run in the WCS Challenger qualifiers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you would be correct. We've seen a few people over there, and it's always something that I have to note because I'm like, okay, does that say AVI or AIVNA? Because one is the Velos clan, and the other one is, I guess, the other clan. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're hopping into our first game of the day. It's going to be a Terran versus Terran for our 1v1, game number 1. And we are going to be starting, I believe, down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, top of the red Terran player. Give it up for JXP, and he is going to be representing no team other than University of Washington.
And his opponent in the top left-hand corner, he's playing for Waterloo. He wants to represent in those finals in Toronto. It is Buster.
Okay, and I believe this is still going to be a best of 5, even though we are approaching those semifinals, the finals. We're sticking to that best of 5 format. Of course, again, winner of this match in the round of 8 will advance onto the semifinals and qualifies for that offline finals event. So a lot is on the line here for both of these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to point out, we're dealing with two pretty high-level players. I believe JXP is in that kind of high masters category. And Buster, his teammates were telling us he is a former GM. They were saying he plays under a different name, maybe Sidus, I believe. And it's cool to see that we're getting into the rounds of the CSL where we're starting to deal with teams that have a bit more kind of depth and quality to them. Whereas in the round of 16, you see a lot of guys that got there off the back of one ace. Now we're dealing with deeper lineups, which is cool.
Yeah, that's a really important part. The Collegiate Star League is a team league, and that means that you can't just get all the way to the finals and win with one player. But ooh, nice SCV pick off over there. Looks like JXP getting a little bit greedy, and Buster able to punish him.
Yeah, absolutely here. We see fairly similar builds coming out of both of these guys. No expansion from anyone yet, and from what I've seen, that's been pretty common here in kind of the TVT meta. We do see Buster opting for that faster factory, whereas JXP is going to back things up with a second barracks. But either way, both of these guys are going to be looking to posture with a pretty heavy amount of units, and I think that's a lot of fun to watch play out. That's kind of what we've seen people been doing in TVT as well.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen too much of what JXP is doing right now, where he goes for that second barracks and starts building those Reapers and just gets out Hellions. I mean, the continued Reaper production for sure is something I haven't really seen too much of off of 2 barracks. But you can see Buster has already started making that tech lab on the barracks. He's looking to get up stim. He's getting up his own starport. But I guess the question is, can JXP take advantage of these earlier Reapers or these additional Reapers he's making and continue the pressure, maybe deny a natural expansion for a little bit, or even poke in and do some real damage?
Yeah, I mean, if JXP is going for some kind of perhaps Reaper Hellion build with maybe a Banshee or a Raven to back things up, then the ability to control the space earlier and take out some of those Reapers, which help kind of control the area and add extra DPS to the Cyclones, he might be able to make this out of meta build work. But it's definitely going to come down to execution on his part, and so far, we've seen both these guys be pretty clean, so we're going to have to see who makes the first misstep.
Okay, well, Cyclone was sitting at the ramp, so the 4 Reapers do make it their way into the mineral line to throw down some good Reaper grenades, and not quite killing too many of the workers, if any, and it seems like now the Reaper's going to get picked up. Nice focus fire from Buster. Takes out 3 of the Reapers, only loses 2 SCVs. Absolutely worth it on his part. He's going to start up that building on the natural command center again. And you have to remember that JXP wasn't exactly making a lot of Marines during that time. He made, what, 1 Marine? And he's got a Cyclone. That's really his majority of his form of anti-airs. Now the Viking does pop out, but that Banshee could legitimately get some good damage done.
Yeah, there is going to be a missile turret on the way here, but it seems like it's pretty far off to the left. So without a Raven, I think JXP may be vulnerable to that right side flank. But even before that starts off, we're going to see a bit of a Reaper run by here as the Reapers of Buster get into the JXP's mineral line. Some good grenades go down, and now we do see that Banshee take up the right side position here. It looks like it's still within detection range of both the Viking and the Cyclone, but now it seems to have found its sweet spot, and Cloak is paying absolute dividends and starts to ravage this mineral line.
Yeah, already 6 workers killed, and more are going to be falling pretty rapidly as the workers don't exactly have a natural expansion or anything to retreat to. There wasn't a natural expansion. JXP was really investing into having a bigger army earlier on and going for a big attack, but he's not only lost his economy, he's lost a few of his actual attacking army units as well. And of course, in the meanwhile, Buster has bought so much space for himself to work with back at home. He has a natural expansion. He has a siege tank. He's getting out more siege tanks. He's getting out pretty much everything he's going to need as long as he can actually deal with a big attack that's going to be coming out from right now from JXP.
Yeah, and I think going for the throat is JXP's only legitimate move here. He's going to be moving across the map right now. Back at home, he will continue to take damage from this Banshee, but he's going to go ahead and ignore it, and honestly, I like the call. JXP is behind, he's in trouble, but he still has more army XP, and I think he knows that trying to take advantage of that is his best shot to try to squeak out a win here.
Yeah, I really would have liked it if Buster had gone for a bunker knowing how much damage he did. He is going to siege up a siege tank on the high ground, and it does siege up before his opponent, so he's going to get one really nice shot off. He does lose that siege tank, but he still has 2 more back on the low ground. It's not exactly like there's a medevac out right now for JXP. He can't elevator up to the main base. He doesn't have a lot of potential, but the Marines just running straight into their death. I guess it's still going to work out, though.
Yeah, the overwhelming number of advantages were on Buster's side, especially with that close reinforcement point. GG is called, and Buster takes the first game for Waterloo.
Yeah, Waterloo now going to be sitting up 1-0, and they are going to be moving into that second game. Of course, the next game is going to be a turn versus Protoss, with the Riddler facing off versus Zeal. For those who don't know, Riddler, not too bad of a player. I've definitely seen his name around, but I don't really remember too much about his exact playstyle. Zeal, though. Zeal is a guy that I know who has been around in the StarCraft scene for a good bit of time. think he maybe even actually had a stint in Challenger, WCS Challenger, for a while. So that just goes to show you how good this guy can be. But hasn't really been a super active StarCraft player lately. Has a huge amount of potential, but it really is going to be about how in form is Zeal. How much has he really been playing of StarCraft lately? And he's at least still in Masters League right now, so still got a lot of potential.
Yeah, so don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be right back. And of course, a big thank you to Band Gaming for helping to make the CSL possible. If you need a social app to help you organize your gaming teams and clans, be sure to check them out. It's on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. And we'll be right back with that second 1v1.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the CSL. Waterloo leads 1-0 in this best of 5 to determine who will make it to the Toronto playoffs here. And I am super excited to see which of these guys can pull out the victory. I think we're ready to jump into our game.
Indeed we are, as we are going to be starting up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, top of the yellow. Protoss player representing University of Washington. Give it up for Zeal.
And his opponent in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the teal Terran player, Avalo, but not really.
Yeah, known as the Riddler.
The
He's
Riddler.
been making some runs in a lot of tournaments lately.
Yeah, he had a deep run playing as this Avalo account in WCS. I think he made it to the round of 16, and the round of 4 is what would have qualified him into WCS Challenger. So that's definitely an impressive result. He's one of those high Grandmaster Terrans. I'm not too sure about his playstyle. I think he does play a lot of mech like Avilo. But
Yeah.
I don't know if it's exactly the same style of mech that Avilo does play.
Yeah, I've seen a few of his games, but none of them really resoundingly, I don't know, just stuck with me by any means. So I think that he's played some non-mech games before, but we'll have to wait. The Proxima Station is just a really weird map for Terran versus Protoss. I mean, it's a kind of weird map in general. It causes very odd things in Protoss versus Zerg. It can lead to kind of weird situations in TVT. ZVZ is kind of a little bit more normal, but even that gets a little bit funky just because you can take 3 bases so easily. And PVT is just the matchup where I see a lot of proxies and I see a lot of Doom drops from both sides. Not necessarily Doom drop from Protoss. War Prism walks in, Terran player is completely out of position and just starts losing everything inside their main base in terms of production. So this can definitely be a pretty weird PvT map.
Yeah, I mean, if we take a look at kind of the design of the map and the surface area on like what's actually droppable on the main base, it's pretty easy to see why that can happen, right? You have these huge chasms that allow so many paths for medevacs and warp prisms and all of those units that can get units into your base to kind of dart in really quickly, and that just leads to that being oftentimes the best way to play out the map. So I think it's just kind of a result of all that surface area, and it makes it a really volatile map. It's hard to patrol all of that airspace, and then you have to make some tough choices. You know, do I want to play a play style that encompasses Phoenix and Vikings that can control that airspace and make it safer, but also maybe set me behind a little bit, or do I want to take the risk and maybe go for the throat of my opponent by facilitating a drop heavy play style?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. A lot of Protoss players have been favoring that Phoenix Adept style, but Zeal's going to play this old school, which is almost a little bit fitting to who he is. He's one of those more old school players, and, well, going to go for the Robo instead. So, seems like there's a decent chance we may not end up seeing the Phoenix Adept style, because usually if you're going to go for Phoenix Adept, you need to open up with a Stargate really quickly, go for an Oracle, or just go straight into production.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of the times when we see a player that maybe took the game really seriously a couple years ago and now is still an excellent player, but mostly just plays for fun, you can see them kind of fall back on those old play styles. Maybe they're playing Legacy of the Void, but they still bust out builds that have their roots in HOTS, and I don't think that's surprising to see at all. 2 observers first.
Yeah, now this is the 2 observer thing is cool. Go to the bottom right hand corner of the map, Joe.
Oh,
That's a proxied fusion core. And Zeal is going, I believe, no, he's not. It's not 1 gate robo, but it's a pretty quick robo bay. So he is going up to, I believe, really fast Colossus, maybe really fast Disruptors, but he's gonna be up against really, really quick Liberator range. And I was wondering, okay, there was like a slight chance maybe it goes into battle cruisers, but I think that's definitely a little bit less likely. Observer in, but doesn't actually scout out the tech lab on the starport.
yeah, that's this reminds me of, I know you're familiar with EJK. This seems like something he would do. Hide that fusion core, go for that range liberator upgrade. It's a really cool play, and I'm not sure which of these 2 guys is sharper at the moment, but this definitely seems like a way to absolutely blindside someone that maybe has been a bit out of the meta, and maybe you're thinking, oh, they've got the better mechanics than me, but I'm thinking that I can just use my knowledge of how PvT works right now to just bully the heck out of them.
Yeah, it's really going to be dependent on where that Liberator decides to go. If it's just going to walk straight across the map, it potentially is going to walk next to the Observer, but oh, the Raven is so close to scouting out that Observer. He might be able to kill it off, but looks like the Observer is going to get scouted out on that very quick Liberator that was made. So we'll see how prepared Zeal really is. I mean, there's only so much you can do. You can start a Blink, sure, but it is about the fact that you can outrange a lot of the normal defenses.
You know, and seeing the first Liberator, it's definitely an alarm and all of that, but I don't think it's probably going to set off that DEFCON 1 style of preparedness that Zeal really needs to be entering, because there's such a huge difference between 1 or 2 early Liberators to harass versus early range Liberators where you're going to be dealing with these crazy pressures that outrange kind of the long-range units like Colossus that you're already gunning for.
Oh god, and Zeal's realizing he actually cannot reach that Liberator even with the Stalkers. No, Photon Overcharge is going to be helpful over here. He needs a Stargate. He's making one now, but how long is he not going to be able to mine from that natural expansion? He's going to be so ridiculously far behind. He's already down almost 20 supply.
Yeah, this is already really rough for Zeal. Look at how much idle mining time is being forced on top of all these probes killed. The Stalkers are looking for kind of a favorable position to engage this, but Zeal is kind of bouncing in and going, oh god, there's no way that I can get all my Stalkers shooting at once without trickling through and just taking that damage one at a time. Oh man, this SCV is going to get found by the Colossus, and I suppose that's a tiny win for Zeal. Going to be taking what he can get right now, but the second Liberator is joining up here, and I think the Riddler's siege position is going to be even stronger now.
Like, I think this actually just may be game ending, Joe. I don't even know if we'll get to see Zeal walk across the map and attack. Legitimately, he may I guess the Phoenix is going to finally come out, so he will eventually be able to deal with this, but this is, at this level of play, not mining for almost a minute and a half from one of your bases and another like 30 or 45 seconds from the other. That's actually just potentially game-ending damage. That's usually going to be game-ending damage.
Yeah, we can see that Zeal's actually flustered and that he hasn't restarted this mining either. There we go now. It is finally going to get fired back up, but he's still sitting at less than half the mineral income of his opponent. These Phoenixes are finally going to clean up these Liberators. Zeal is going to try his best not to lose one of these, and as long as there's proper micro, these Phoenixes shouldn't be at too much risk here. And now he's basically just going to be forced to play the game from behind as the Riddler walks across the map with a very potent push.
Oh, man. The Riddler is not going to have any of it either. He's not going to go for the third, which I don't believe he technically... he did scout the third expansion, but he is looking for the kill right now. Observer is going to scout out this army. You know, the one way Zeal could maybe turn this around is if he takes a really good engagement. He lost a lot of workers, but he's also been non-stop making workers. So he can potentially catch up, but he needs to devastate the army. He has Blink. He has some tools to deal with this.
Yeah, I mean, Colossus are such a weird unit in PvT. They're a great unit to hold on against pushes when you're about even and you're expecting the push and it's scouted, but they're not like Disruptors where they can be this miracle comeback unit usually. And I don't think Zeal has the meat shield necessary to make them act in that way. He's definitely going to be trying his best. He's looking for the good positions. He has the high ground here, but these medevacs are offering high ground vision for the Riddler. The Colossus actually taking a favorable engagement with siege tanks, not something you see every day. But Zeal has a long way to go if he's trying to survive against this push.
Oh no, the Phoenix are on a patrol to try and deal with medevacs going to the main base, but they stop at the wrong time. And now, one drop gets into the main base, starts unloading. The rest of the bio goes into the natural expansion. It looks like those siege tanks also doing enough damage. GG gets called. The Riddler takes his team up 2-0 versus Washington.
Yeah, Waterloo, they know the finals are in Canada, and they want to represent their home country here. 2-0. They only need to win one of these team games here to advance to the offline playoffs in May. I have a feeling that these guys are excited right now.
Yeah, they have got to be feeling good. Now they only have to win a 2v2 in an Archon mode match, and worst case comes to worst, they go out to the Ace match and they have to play another 1v1, which so far they've been doing pretty damn well in having won both of them. So we'll see who exactly University of Washington is going to be sending out next. I guess it's going to be Wildcard and Garage Door. Garage Door, for those who don't know, are the coordinators for Washington. They're going to be facing off versus Waterloo's Captain Fail and Power Foe. So, should be interesting. We'll see if Waterloo can close this out or if Washington will be able to turn this around.
Yeah, so don't go anywhere, guys. We will be right back with our 2v2.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Ben?
is gone and all of the paths you've drawn have sunk to the ocean sand where no one can see. You stand, don't let the dark embrace, cower the dreams you chase under the rust and blood. Don't let yourself give up.
Reminiscent of like Marine King here on Metropolis, going for that. Although I don't see like the huge barracks explosion we typically expect to see, and sorry about the audio there, guys. Typically expect to see when you float to the natural. I'm actually curious if we're going to see Powerfo get any kind of advantage out of this float, but at the same time, it's like the float distance is so short. It's maybe 12 hexes if I had to eyeball it. It's almost like, why not, and see if there's any benefit. I don't think you're going to lose much by doing it.
Yeah, it definitely gets a little bit wonky with that. Reaper's going to be coming in over here. 6 Zerglings should be enough to buy time for any kind of extra defenses to get up. Powerfo does have a slightly delayed build. His barracks is going to be a little bit further behind and everything. Just because, again, he opened up by floating his command center over to another base. That takes a bit of time out of your build, and you get an eventual payoff, but it's not immediate.
Yeah, and now Wildcard and Garage Door look to be on a bit of aggression here. They are going to get pushed away by these units, the Queen and the Zerglings. Just a bit of a skirmish here. And I think back at home, these guys are just going to be continuing to macro up. Magma Mines is such a weird map because the rush distance, like the ground rush distance, is actually crazy short for a StarCraft 2 map. And we don't see that this much these days.
Yeah, it really is reminiscent of the fact that 2v2 maps don't really come out all that often. Most of the time, we are seeing players play on like pretty old maps that have been around almost since Wings of Liberty sometimes. But I believe this was maybe introduced in like Heart of the Swarm or something. It's definitely a map I've seen around a few times, but well, we are getting into some of that kind of early poking and prodding. You notice that it really is pretty much just the left-hand team, Wildcard and Garage Door, that are doing all of the aggression this game.
Yeah, I don't think, or rather, I think Powerfo, from my memory, is probably the strongest player on paper in this game. So I almost wonder if Captain Fail's job is to protect Powerfo, as we can see from those Queens and early Lings that have been mostly defensive, and just make sure that he can hit his macro stride, and now Power Foe, with his 6 Hellions out, is going to feel comfortable poking and prodding around and trying to make something cool happen.
Yeah, Banshee also for Powerful, moving into Wildcard and Garage Door's main bases. Finding a Baneling, not a whole lot, but there is a Raven over here with auto turrets going to be able to do so much damage. The Queen is going to be able to pick off that Banshee. Absolutely next to no damage taken so far for Wildcard and his teammate Garage Door. Really, really solid job. And you have to remember, they are down 0-2, so they need these wins wherever they can find them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see coming out from Wildcard 2 base Spire. That's a bit of a wild card. I'm the worst, but anyways. Yeah, I mean, with the gold base, it's a pretty cool move. I think you're going to have an excess of minerals, so you can kind of go for, like, aggressive Muta Ling styles, and I think that could be really, really powerful. You dump your extra minerals into those Lings. I think one thing that's going to be really important for Wildcard is kind of larva management here, because his resources are probably going to outpace his larva for these early mid stages of the game.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be true. Interesting also just how, you know, a lot of the times you talk about racial balances and like how gold expansions and stuff work out. Some people will say, oh, well, Terrans do really well on golds compared to Zergs because they're going to be able to make more use of the minerals. They're making a lot of Marines and stuff versus Zergs that, yeah, if you're going to go for mutas or something, usually you're looking for gas, not minerals. But at the same time, yeah, you do get that extra minerals. You can get it down that third expansion while going for a 2-base muta play. And, you know, there's also an argument that mules are equally effective on gold mineral patches and blue mineral patches, but you still see different strategies on who takes that gold on the map.
Well, we are going to see the swell of Zerglings we were talking about coming out of Wildcard here. I'm going to move across the map, going to poke. You generally don't want to poke into Hellions unless you're taking that fight on creep here. So we're just going to see Wildcard do a really nice job of spreading out his Lings, and that means that Garage Door cannot engage, or rather, Captain Fail and Power Foe cannot engage onwards into this without risking just an absolutely brutal surround going down on their forces.
Yeah, something worth noting also is just how much earlier Captain Fail got his third up, and you're starting to see little bits and pieces of that being reflected in the supply. There are small little skirmishes going on over here. Wildcard losing quite a few Zerglings as well, but it's Captain Fail that I think is really becoming the powerhouse now. He's sitting at 61 workers, 112 supply, leading up in this game by a good bit versus anybody, including his team. And now that just straight up macro style, maybe a bit strong, but here we go. Muta's coming out. Are the Marines going to be enough?
Yeah, this is going to be kind of the power move from Wildcard here. He definitely needs to be dodging all of these Marines. I think the Marine firepower on the ground with the medevac healing support should be more than enough to deal with those mutas as long as he's able to take favorable fights here. Wildcard is making Banelings. He's sitting back with his mutalisks. That makes me think he wants to take this fight straight up, and I'm not sure I love that idea just with how much raw firepower Waterloo has on the ground.
Yeah, Waterloo definitely has a pretty scary looking army right now. Again, and like just such a stellar economy. I feel like Wildcard and Garage Door for University of Washington, they have to either start taking bases a little bit faster, or they have to start making use of this kind of mutatack or something with the Terran medevac drops and doing some harassment. They have to start putting on more aggression. I think they've tried a few times, but haven't really been able to find any kind of real big openings.
Yeah, I mean, they're finding bits and pieces of damage here and there, taking out a Viking here, an Overlord there. Sniping off a Siege Tank is nice, but when you go for a 2-base Muta style, you really need, not game-ending damage, but serious, some would even say critical damage, because you're counting on the Spies and the Mutalisks to kind of cripple your opponent here, and they're just bouncing in and out, picking off drones at the edges here, but the Spore Crawlers are helping to hold down the fort.
Yeah, looks like 3 or so drones get picked off over there, as well as the extractor, so not too bad. But again, it's Captain Fail sitting on a 3-base economy for such a long time, and now he's got the roach count to back it up. 155 supply, now charging across the map. Actually, the siege tanks still not siege up, and they're going to be sieging up in range of those roaches that just focus fire them down. Is it going to be enough, though? The Banelings busting on forward, and it looks like Garage Door and Wildcard able to really easily push this back.
Yeah, this was a really nice engagement from the University of Washington here. The Banelings helped really soften up the Roaches at the front. The Siege Tanks managed to get enough volleys off to make this fight a bit better. And now we can see they're pushing across the map with a higher Marine count, the Banelings to back it up. And it looks like the choice of Garage Door was to go for Corruptors versus Mutalisks. And even though that might seem intuitively correct, that's not typically a favorable engagement just because of how Mutaglaive bounces work.
This army is really stemmed up, but they are stemming up underneath the mutas, or sorry, they're stemming up on top of the rest of the units and protecting those mutas. And now you can see Garage Door set up inside of the main base for Captain Fail. If he takes out that layer, if he takes out the Spire, there's not going to be a whole lot that Captain Fail can really do with that stellar economy he's been building up. Garage Door now leading up in the supply count for the entire game. 145, and the next closest is just going to be Captain Fail, who, again, is losing his main base.
Yeah, this is absolutely brutal for University of Waterloo, but Washington University has fought and battled. They've clawed their way back into the series. It looks like they're very likely to be putting one on the board here, and that's going to keep them alive. The first GG is called from Captain Fail, and that is going to be our game number 3. University of Washington stays alive. They keep their playoff, or rather their finals dreams alive, and we're going to go to game number 4 after these messages.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions.
All of your wind has gone, and all of the paths you've drawn have sunk to the ocean sand where no one can see. You stand, don't let the dark embrace, cower the dreams you chase under the rust and blood. Don't let yourself give up.
welcome back to the CSL. We are hopping into our Archon mode match between University of Waterloo and Washington University. Should be a lot of fun here, guys. So without further ado, because the game has already started, here we go.
All right. Starting down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have the purple Terran players. Give it up for Garage Door and JXP, representing University of Washington. Currently down 1-2.
And their opponents in the top left-hand corner, we have Buster and Powerfo, the yellow Terran Archon. Now, Archon match, for those of you guys that maybe don't watch the CSL, because this is probably the only context where Archon is played competitively as far as I know. Archon match is a 1v1, with the primary difference being that you share control of your armies with another opponent, and that can lead to some really cool stuff. I think most people tend to play Terran here in this game mode. It seems to be the strongest from what a lot of people have been saying. Just with units like the medevac and all that, you have so much micro potential. So I think seeing TVTs in Archon mode is always a lot of fun, because we see a meta shift relative to the standard kind of 1v1 TVT.
Yeah, you know, I think it's pretty interesting. I do believe it really does depend on the team a lot of the time. Like, for example, one of the really strong players in the past for many Archon mode matches in the CSL was Bales. Bales would play Archon matches with a Gold League player as Protoss. But he would just be playing a regular 1v1, and his teammate would just be given an Oracle, and Bales would tell him, look, this Oracle is yours. There may be others on the map that are like it, but this one is yours. Make it the damn Oracle that ever was. And his teammate would go around, and that Oracle would get something crazy, like 20 kills, and it just wouldn't die. And that could be an effective way of playing it out also. Bales is also just like a solid player. So I think it really does depend on like team synergy, what the players are experienced with. I can tell you that I have tried playing Terran in Archon mode matches with a Terran player like Zombie Grub, and those are the majority of the games that we were losing. I am not a Terran player. I should not play Terran ever. I should not control Terran units. And some people are just like that. So I think it really does come down a little bit to preference. But taking a look at this game already, we do have the Reapers starting to get a little bit aggressive. And that first SCV had died already for JXP and Garage Door, but now the first Reaper is going to die as well.
Yeah, ooh, coming in here, getting another SCV. That's some less shots to tank. These Reapers need to get away and do those drugs so they can heal up. Yeah, they are going to find that kind of quiet corner where they won't be disturbed. They can take their combat drugs, heal back up, and maybe bounce back in and look to get another couple of SCV kills. Reaper production not continuing after the second one. Instead, we're going to see Cyclones and Banshees, kind of a more aggressive tech-type pressure coming out of Buster and Powerfo here.
Yeah, trying to continue to just get any kind of free damage that they can done. The Cyclone does take quite a bit of damage, though, so gonna back up with that. The Reaper's just gonna continue to sit at the front, and I guess try and deny Natural from really being mined from for now. Garage Door and JXP got a much faster command center, so they are eventually going to be able to mine from that, but it is really going to be about Buster and Powerfo's later command center in exchange for faster tech. Banshee making his way across the map. Cloak very close to finishing up.
Yeah, that missile turret is on the way, so we are going to see University of Washington having a bit of a way to deal with that. But if the Cloak Banshee swoops in before that, is able to stop cancel construction, actually it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But there are still sweet spots that are probably going to be available. You know, if you're in Archon mode, you probably have the APM to find a place where your Banshee can just kind of pick away at these SCVs without being in range of detection. And that's just so annoying as the player that's trying to defend.
Yeah, and I like this. The Banshee not immediately cloaking, gonna try and bide some time right now. Now immediately cloaks as soon as he encounters the Cyclones, the Viking, but is it going to be taking too much damage? It is, so Banshee does go down. Really nice defense from Garage Door and JXP, and generally, I have to say, the players that get more aggressive are the ones that do better in Archon mode, because it's a lot easier to be aggressive and task one person controlling that aggression versus being the defensive players in Archon mode match. It's a lot harder to say like who's the one pulling out the SCV, who's the one continuing the macro, who's the one controlling the army for the defense.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Although so far we've seen Garage Door and JXP making an excellent job of defending here. And it looks like Buster and Powerfo are going to be pulling their forces back. One thing I noticed that was really cool, and it's something that you often only see in Archon mode, was Buster and Powerfo sent that Cyclone home, fully repaired it. That kind of attention to detail is something that I think really shines in Archon when you just have twice the APM to work with. Sometimes repairing a Cyclone from half back to full health is not always going to be worth your time and attention, but in the early game, when you have double the time and attention to spend, absolutely get all your units back to full health.
Okay, Viking and Raven probably going to go for some auto turret harassment. Manage to kill off 2 workers, but that is going to be more or less it. It looks like a third one from the Gas Geyser. But I really like that. And also sending in the Viking does make sure that that Raven can probably get out of there relatively safely.
Yeah, now it looks like they're just going to be pulling back with that bit of harassment. There is a small skirmish going down at the Watchtower. Garage Door and JXP may be able to pick off this Reaper, which would be nice.
Oh,
that's going to leave...
now. And it gets found by a lot of Vikings and that Raven, but wow! That Banshee might actually be able to make it out of there alive unless a scan comes down. No. Looks like the energy ends up finally running out at the last minute. That Banshee is so desperately trying to get away, and it does get away. 16 hit points left over, and 6 kills on that Banshee.
Yeah, really nice moves. Garage Door and JXP not wanting to be pulled out of position at such a critical time. And I think we can see their instincts are really good there, because actually both players are now moving onto the map, posturing potentially for pushes. And yeah, you don't want to get caught with your pants down in a situation like this.
Yeah, air superiority advantage goes to Garage Door and JXP, but in terms of Marine count and just straight up ground army, we have a huge advantage for Buster and Powerfo, who actually devastate quite a few of the siege tanks for Garage Door and JXP.
Yeah, and without any of that splash damage backing things up, that's going to force Garage Door and JXP back here. Really nice moves out of Buster and Powerfo. I think this Archon match so far, it's quite a slugfest, but we can see Buster and Powerfo kind of creeping ahead in that supply. They have an army lead and a worker lead after that last engagement, so things are looking good for them.
Yeah, they were able to take a really good engagement, and that was with a lot of their Marines still sitting in the main base. I don't know if that was just because they were still waiting on that next round of production, or if it was just in preparation for a drop, but either way, the only thing that they're really kind of struggling with right now is going to be, again, a little bit of that air superiority, as well as, of course, the upgrade advantage right now that is leaning in favor of Garage Door and JXP. Soon, it's going to be pretty much negated, but, well, if they can hit right now, this is going to be a good opportunity for them.
Yeah, Garage Door, or rather Buster and Powerful will actually have an upgrade advantage once their 1-1 finishes. Garage Door and JXP managed to force that +1 out a bit earlier, but at the expense of doing it off a single eBay, which means their +1 armor is a bit behind. Now Buster and Powerful are going to be going for this drop. Can they set up a powerful siege position here? Vikings swinging in from that right side, but the Marines get down. They're able to force it away. The Raven goes down. The Vikings are trying to control these medevacs, but so much damage being dealt.
GG gets called. Buster and Powerfo close it out and take this series 3-2 in favor of their team, University of Waterloo. They are going to be moving on to the semifinals. Joe, they are going to be the first ones being blown out for those semifinals.
Yeah, huge congratulations to these guys. I think beyond just a simple congratulations, I want to give these guys, and tell me if you agree, the Band Together Award for showing excellent teamwork. These guys showcased what it means to pull together as a team, to know that your ability to go to Toronto, go to those finals, compete for that $8,000, bond and grow as a team. Everything that we're talking about here is on the line, and that's when these guys were able to pull it out, put it together, and for that I think they deserve the Band Together Award.
Yeah, absolutely. Big congratulations to them. Well deserved. And yeah, on top of that Band Gaming Award, they will be taken to those finals. Already in Canada, so they don't have to go very far. But I'm sure they're going to be excited for it.
Yeah, so I want to say a final thank you for our to our sponsors tonight. Of course, we have Band Gaming. They give out the Band Gaming Award. We have Asus, who is awesome, and they're currently sponsoring a video contest where if you submit your videos of your team's best CSL plays, you have the chance to win a really high-end laptop, which is super cool, worth a lot of money. And there's 3 of those actually being given away, so don't fret. If you think you might have a play that's in the top 3, absolutely submit your video. The team that submits the most videos will also get an Asus ROG swag bag, and that is super, super cool. And then last but not least, our final sponsor is Twitch. Thank you so much, Twitch, for helping to make this happen. You guys are awesome. Everyone, if you love the CSL, tell Twitch they're awesome. Thank them for supporting it. And I think that's just going to about wrap it up for us today.
Yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. There's going to be another broadcast with Joe, and not myself, but rapid casting on Thursday. That's going to be Montreal versus Ontario Tech. We got 2 of the Canadian teams. Man, Team Canada, Canadian universities in StarCraft, something just well with them. But that's going to be happening on Thursday if you want to check that out. A lot of really good players going to be playing for both those teams.
All right, guys, so thanks so much for tuning in. Like Fear Dragon said, I will be back Tuesday with Rapid to catch the second round of 8, cast the second round of 8 here in the CSL. We are closing in on our final days of the online portion of this event. If you're planning on going to Toronto for the finals, whether as a player or a spectator, be sure to come say hi. I'll be there. I'm not 100% sure about the rest of the casting lineup, but I'd be happy to meet you guys. And take care, be safe, stay in school, and thanks so much for watching.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.